Right, yeah. It seems that everybody can see me and everybody can hear me. So, welcome, folks, to the dev.js Summit 2021. Then, uh, we're gonna be talking with you about building with confidence. So that how that's gonna work. Then, so first, I'm gonna be talking about Tesco technology and everything that we are building, and what this technology means and everything. And then we're gonna have Ricardo there talking with building with confidence.
Hey there.
Cool. So yeah. So if you can go to the next slide, then Ricardo, please. Right. Yeah. Yeah. So that's it. So who is Jeff? So I'm an engineering manager here on the colleague space in Tesco Technology. Colleague space, basically, we build the tools that many colleagues around the world is going to use internally there in our Tesco stores and many other places there. So I have more than 20 years experience with technology, since the days that people used to use like Slackware as a Linux distro there, and almost like a religion there. Or for example, where crazy people use NetBSD, or we had like JavaScript as a Netscape browser thing, and Microsoft had a software called like Front Page, all this kind of stuff. So if you know what I'm talking about, it's because you are old enough, just like me, and been for quite a long time in the tech knowledge there. So yeah, so I work in many industries, and I am from Brazil, and Ricardo is Argentina, and we are actually country neighbors. How crazy is that, right? So we work in the same company, and I am based in the UK, and Ricardo based there in Poland, and we are actually country neighbors. How cool is that? So yeah, so that's me. My Twitter is that Sechinel Jeff as well. So if you want to follow me on Twitter, just go ahead. You're more than welcome to do that as well. So if you can go to the next slide, then please, Ricardo. Yeah, so what I'm gonna be talking with you then, and what is Tesco technology? How long we been in Poland? So all these things I'm gonna be talking about. We have our quiz. Our quiz is going to be live by noon today, so you can go there and scan the QR code that you have there on the top there, and then you can answer some questions, and you can get like an Xbox there. We're gonna have like a prize for the person that answer all the questions correctly there. So go ahead, go there, answer the questions, and get your Xbox. For the second, third, and all the other place, we're gonna have also a power bank there as a prize as well. So don't miss that. So let's talk about this technology then. So we have 450,000 across the globe there. Right? We are a massive retail, not only in the UK but in many other countries as well. We have our hub of technology in Poland. It was launched in 2016 there, and we have, for example, many APIs that we built in Poland as well. The first one that we had was an address API. So yeah, so we are a massive presence in Poland. Many of you knows our business as a retail shop, but we are more than that, right? We have a really big technology area, and where people develop really cool stuff, and wow. So talk a little bit more about Tesco there. If you look at Tesco, basically, when we think about Tesco, as I said, we think about Tesco retail, but we are more than that. For example, you have Booker. That's the company that Tesco acquired some time ago. That basically it provides food for all the restaurants that we have in the UK as well. So we have, for example, Dunnhumby. That's a data analytics company there that's based that have sites all across the globe as well, and it's part of Tesco. We have Tesco Bank, we have Tesco Mobile. So we have many things here that not everybody knows that we have, and we need to support all this part of the business with technology, and that's why we have Tesco technology here, to build all these APIs and build this capability that we can give not only for our customers but for our colleagues in store as well. So that's what is excited about working in Tesco technology. And if you think about the load that we get per day, as many people shopping with us, or our 450,000 colleagues that accessing our systems, that's a really good challenge for any engineer in the world, really. Cool. Yeah. So we have hubs. As I said, we have a hub in Poland, but we also have our hub in India and Hungary as well. In Poland, our hub is located in Krakow, so that's we are where we are located at. Right, that's cool. Then, so if we can go to the next slide, then please, Ricardo. Cool. Let's talk about what we have launched in the market. That really cool stuff that we are building, and where you can fit and where you can help us to build and deliver this awesome application there. So, for example, if you go to a Tesco store there, basically you're gonna grab all your stuff and you're gonna go to pay that in the till, right? That till that you're going to be using there, we have a new solution called Tesco Chill. So basically, we are modernize all the chills that we have, and that's building JavaScript. So you have like a front end there that's basically using all the API stacked on that machine there, and that application that you see there is basically a web application, that we put it together, calling multiple APIs that we have sometimes in that machine, or we call it in the cloud as well, so all the design that was made, we have a user experience team that works together with the front end team and build that solution there. So many people doesn't know that people think, oh, that's application that's it's a C++ application, C# application, or whatever. No, it's actually JavaScript running there and calling many APIs that we have actually at the Tesco too. That's pretty cool stuff. So we have other things that we did it as well. So we launched our first stores that's there that doesn't have any tools. You just grab this stuff there in the store, and then you go out and then you are charged for that. That's really cool technology. We have Tesco Lab. That's basically a team that thinks about innovation, that thinks about all this cool stuff that we can implement. We have Whoosh as well. That's basically we are delivering much faster now. So you have that app there on your left side on the bottom there that shows a bike there that's gonna pick up your shopping there and it's gonna deliver it to you. So imagine how to build that mobile app that calling the multiple APIs that we have and giving the best experience to the user. And on the right side there, right in the end of the side there, you have like Club Card Plus. Uh, this Club Card Plus that we launched. The reason why I put it here is because we launched it really fast. It took like around 3 months for us to deliver the whole solution. Why? Because we have all the APIs already ready for the front end to get those APIs get together and deliver the front end experience that. So having all this support, all this base that we already built, that it provides for us the capability of launching things really much faster. You won't take like a massive time that you see what you've been developing in production, with the customer hands and everything. And that's really exciting for any engineer to actually, work in something and see that being launched and being used by millions of users there. And of course, in the middle, I just wanted to put it here because I saw that the UK most valuable brands that Tesco, and that's something that I'm really proud of. I people that work in here at Tesco, we do our best in them in everything that we do, and seeing that we recognize that we are one of the most valuable brands. That's just a great achievement for me. So that's why I put it here for you folks. Then. Right? If you can go then to the next slide, Ricardo, please. Right, technology that we use then. What we've been using so far then, as you can see, is a massive stack of technology, but things that you can recognize, like for example, Node.js or React, or for example, Microsoft Azure, our main cloud provider there, and many other technologies that we have. We actually use that. So for example, CentOS, we use it there on some of the applications that we have and many other technologies. So we have a massive stack of technologies there. If you have those skills, if you know how to deliver really good quality code there, and you are excited by it, and you know this technology, just have a look at our website. Come join us, and you can send me a message as well. Can talk to me about how it looks like to work in Tesco and everything. And yeah, I'm more than happy to have a chat with you. Thanks, Ricardo. Let's go to the next slide then, please. Right. So let's talk about how the engineer ladder works in Tesco Technologies that and in Poland as well. So when you join us, you're going to join as a software development engineer, or you're going to join as a manager like I am. And you can, for example, if you are a software development engineer, you have different levels, right? You have like the junior level, mid level, and senior level that so SEG 1, 2, and 3. And then you have the principal position that's basically the main software development engineer that participates in different applications and guides the other engineers on where do we want to reach. If you want to go to the manager side, you have head of software there, and then you have director of engineering as well. So this is our engineer ladder, but that accommodates people that are working front end, back end, architects, DevOps, system engineering. So yeah, so we are ladder there. Right, Ricardo, if you can go next then, please. Right, so this is my takeaway for you then. So these are books that I've been reading through my career that helps me as a manager, to manage people and manage applications as well. So you can see on the top that the manager's path is a really good one. Start with why from Simon Sinek. You need to understand why you are delivering things, why you are doing things, and that's really important. Site reliability engineering from Google, of course, if you work with APIs, you know what I'm talking about. Service level objects, service level indicators, always good to know and crack on those. When we have, for example, essential Scrum, that is our day-to-day job, right? We use Scrum a lot in Tesco Technology. And we also have the one that I love the most is building and managing teams that are distributed there. That's from my friend Alberto. That's an excellent book for you that works with nowadays that everybody is actually working remotely. If you need to manage teams that are remote there, that's the best book. It tells loads of stuff on how to get the most from your team and bring the most quality on your delivery as well. So I totally recommend that book there. Right, so that's me done. I hope that you enjoyed. Don't forget about our quiz that starts at noon. Go there, answer the questions, and if you are lucky enough, you're gonna get a really nice prize there. So now we're gonna go with Ricardo with the building with confidence there, and yeah, thank you very much, folks. Catch you all later then.
Thank you, Jeff, and thank you everyone for joining us today. As Jeff said, my name is Ricardo Casares. I'm a software developer manager in the colleague transformation team for Tesco. I'm an open source enthusiast. I really like working with JavaScript, Node.js. I'm eternally learning Polish language. I am originally from Argentina. I've been living in Poland, more precisely in Krakow, for about 5 years. And if you ask me, okay, this is eternally learning Polish for me. So I would like to say that I know Polish, but it's a process and it's getting better and better. Entonces, we can start. So what I want to talk about today is building with confidence. And this is a journey through soft and hard skills with a focus on the JavaScript ecosystem. And this means a bit, we are touching in a very high level all the spots that for me are important when you're building confidence. And we will talk about what is confidence and where you can build it in your applications and teams and in your skills. And I would like to show you what is important for me in these terms and how we can improve the process of building software to get better teams, better products, and actually having fun building those. So what is exactly confidence, right? So the formal definition is the feeling or belief that one can have faith or rely on someone or something, right? So why confidence is important? From my point of view, building confidence will be the mechanism by which you will try to create an environment of trust in your team, between teams, and eventually across your whole organization. You can create confidence or at least have some illusion of confidence, but you cannot create trust from thin air. It must be earned, and this is what we are going to talk about, how you can build confidence into your skills, processes, teams, and applications. A little bit of what I just said. Let's go to the first skills part. I'm not going to talk much about the skills part because this is mostly subjective about what are your goals in what you want to learn, where you want to excel at. This might be UX, this might be any kind of engineering, programming, and so on. So what I will tell you about skills is two things that help me to build the skills. And one of those is know where you are, and the other one is get where you want to be. So let's talk a little bit about that. So what can you do to progress in your skills, right? First of all, you would need to assess yourself to understand where you are, what you know, and importantly, to know what you don't know. And that's the most important thing, right? And for getting more information about where you are, it's very, very useful to ask for feedback, right? Have your peers around, your friends, the community, ask about how you're doing in such skills, and be realistic about it. Be honest with yourself about this. And the second point is get where you want to be. How you do that. So first of all, set goals and have deadlines. This is very important. And find your local superheroes. And what I mean by this is that there's always this person in your company, in your local communities, that has the skills that you want to build. And what best to ask those persons to hang out with those people, right? And again, be realistic. When you set your goals, take your time, rehearse, practice, and again, have your deadlines. When I was learning Polish, I had to give an exam for B1, and I had a strict deadline about it. I had like a year to prepare and to give a B1 exam. So that kind of pushed me forward. So I recommend you to have some deadlines. Next, we are going to talk about how to build confidence in the teams. And there's a few key things over here. So we're going to talk about setting the values, building agreements, having clear expectations, and communication and language. About setting the values, we can start asking ourselves 3 questions: what, why, and how. This is important to have a discussion with your team. Even though you have a manager role, or you have developer or team lead role, any role you have in your team when you're working with the people. And once again, the team you will be working on is the people you will spend 1/3 of your week with. So this is a lot of time. And it's very important that everybody's on the same page and understand what are the values and to build them together. Yeah. So ask yourself what is important in your workplace, what you want to expect from your colleagues, from your team. Why? Yeah, for whom are we doing this? Who is our client, and what are their needs? And how you're going to do it? It's many ways, but you, first of all, can you put yourself in the shoes of your customers? Try to use your product as they would use it, and try to build empathy toward that. And after a brief discussion with your team, agreeing what are your values, you will find that some of them are repeating. Some people has the same ideas as you, and from that list you can start building. For example, transparency, honesty, ethics, and so on. Find the list of what are your core values and write it down somewhere, and then you can start discussing and building agreements, where we're going right now. So when building agreements, it's important to say, and that everybody on the team is on the same page about what is our preferred way to work, which are our ideal conditions of working, how do you like to learn new things? Yeah, what things do you need from your team? What is the best way to communicate with you? Either email, chat, direct calls, and so on. And most importantly is how we can work in a way that will leverage our values. So talking about the previous meeting you had with your team, talking about the values, when you build agreements, try to build agreements that will empower those values. Yeah. It's a really good practice when you're having different meetings in the team to build upon of them. If you are a fan of functional programming, think about your meetings as functions with inputs and outputs. So one, it's fitting the other, and this way you will be creating a sense of movement, and you will be actually making decisions and having agreements at your work. The third point here is to build clear expectations about what is your role as a software engineer, as a test engineer, as a manager, as a team lead. It's very, very important to have these distinctions. And a good experiment or exercise for this is to have another kind of kickoff meeting to when you're meeting with your team, when you're starting to do some project, to have clear expectations and definitions about what everyone will be contributing to the team. And it's very important to define what are your team goals, to understand the impact, the personal impact of what you do, and to clarify who does what. And as I was saying, there's a really nice exercise about this that you can write in a piece of paper, in docs, whatever it is. What do you think your role is? And then you can think about the roles of your teammates and define what do you think their role is. And then you can compare, and I can assure you, you will find really, really interesting things over there. So talk about it, take the time, and learn new things about what is everyone supposed to do there. And lastly, there is the communication and language. Yeah, when you're working in a team, in a project with many people, or at least more than one people involved, you cannot not communicate. Poor communication will create more work. Pure communication will create misunderstandings. Pure communication will hurt people's feelings, and definitely will add delays to our work. So be mindful about your words when you're writing in your native language or in the foreign language. Take the time to learn how to express your thoughts in a way that won't be misinterpreted. Because if something can be misunderstood, then it probably will. And as well, nowadays it's very, very more common to work on a remote basis with people in different time zones and so on. So it's very important that you will set up what will be your preferred way of communicating. Yeah, this will be synchronous, that I need to reach you in the chat and you need to reply to me fast or not. We'll be just talking by email. We will just write documentation and talk over Jira tickets. Let's, I don't know, agree on that. And the most important of all is to review your agreements. Take the time to review your agreements together with your team. The working place is a dynamic place, and many of you are familiar with the term agile, and I think teams are also agile in the processes they set and the roles that they have. So take the time to periodically review that. Things change and you need to adapt. So now let's talk about a little bit of how to build confidence in your applications. And I want to give you a high-level overview about what I think are ways to build confidence in your application. So let's talk about the local environment, development experience, and a little bit of automation. By the end of the talk, I want to give you some quick examples of a little project I have going on for some time, and I want to share some details over there. So local environment, yeah, there is no place like localhost, and this is really, really nice, but there are some problems that most of us have faced sometimes, and these are in the lines of it works of my machine. So here you have some problems with the reproduction of your environment, local environment in different machines. So this might be connected to different software versions and so on. The other thing is that it might be painfully slow. Sometimes you're working with the APIs that are hosted in the other side of the world. So starting your local environment can be really, really painfully slow. Then you have another problem that it's not a bug, it's a feature, and this is kind of common if you are inheriting some systems, and probably you inherited them without any documentation, and it's really hard to know whether something you are fixing was a bug or it was intended to work that way. And the other problems you find with the local hosts is that sometimes it's impossible to recreate as in production. There are many systems that, for example, are really distributed, so you cannot really build this platform in your local environment in a reliable way, and these kind of things. But all these problems are really affecting us, and it's really affecting our confidence. So let me show you how this works a little bit, this kind of system of when things don't work or when they work. So let's go to the next slide, and you will see here, this is a local environment represented as a system. And on the top corner, you have tested code circle. The way to read this is that you stand on one of these circles and you think, what happens if I have more of this? So let's think that I'm standing on the tested code. What happens when I have more tested code? The more tested code I have, the less bugs probably I will be creating. The more bugs I have, probably the less work I can do, and the less confidence I will have. Yeah, when I'm creating a lot of bugs, I don't know really if I can trust this application or not. So my confidence is being decreased. When I'm standing on the confidence point of view, the more confidence I have, the more performant I am. The more performant I am, the more work I can do. And if you read a bit about system thinking, this is a reinforcing loop. And reinforcing loops can be positive or negative. We just saw the positive way of thinking, but the opposite is true. So if you have less tested code, and I'm not just talking about tested code, think about the broken environment, think about not having unit tests, think about not having mocks or something that affects the overall quality of your project. So the negative part of this is that the less tested code you have, the more bugs you will have. The more bugs you have, the less confidence, the less performance, and the less work you can actually do. So let's move on to the developer experience part. And all of that we just talked about, it really affects the developer experience. So let's try to define what is developer experience, because this is a term that is being heard a lot lately. And many people have many different opinions about what it is. So some people think about ergonomics of an API, how easy it is to use it. And for example, when you use GraphQL, it's really easy to make queries because it feels that you're just writing JSON, right? Then people talk about tooling around specific technology, like you prefer Vue because it has a nice ecosystem and have a CLI tools, or you prefer React because it has the Create React app and a whole other ecosystems. Finally, great documentation, it makes to the developer experience. So when people talk about developer experience, it also talks about this. Interactive and really nice documentations are really contributing to this. And finally, the coding experience using some particular tool. So this is about how it feels when you're writing the code. So for example, when you're using TypeScript in VS Code, you have a few added properties like code browsability that you can go around and you know the types of each of your classes and functions. So this is a bit of, as well contributing to the developer experience. But what is my idea of developer experience? And as a manager, as a person who lead people, for me, it all starts when you join the company, and how easy it is for you as an engineer to onboard, to feel productive in the new environment with your team. So it's all about fast onboarding, to know the tools you will be working with, to know all the ecosystem in the company, to have self-serving systems for you to get permissions to everything. The second thing is about fast feedback loops. And the third one we will talk is single source of truth. As I said, for fast onboarding, try to containerize your environment if possible. Using Docker, you can create reproducible environments in the engineers' machines that then you are eliminating one of the problems of localhost, that is, it works on my machine. By using Docker, you don't have to deal with the external world of your computer, of developers' computers, so you don't have to deal with the version problems and so on. Make your code bases easy to navigate and self-descriptive. When using, for example, TypeScript, this is something added there. Try to have quality documentation and aim to have it. And if you can generate it automatically, and this is connected to the single source of truth point that we just talked about, if you can generate it directly from your code, the best. The closest you have your docs to your code, I think it's the less probabilities that it will diverge. Then when you have these three things, you are allowing people to easily experiment with your products, with your projects. And the more experimentation rate you have, you are allowing for innovation. And because innovation always comes with a risk, try to have safety nets that will allow engineers to fail fast and fail safe. Regarding the fast feedback loops, as I said, try to see your changes instantly. As you remember, some time ago, you had to make a change, go to the browser, refresh, and maybe that was not what you intended. So try to reduce the feedback loops you have. It will help you to reduce cycle time of a feature. It will help you find problems quicker and reduce development costs. And if we think about this a little bit, and we think in numbers, 300 commits a week, 3 minutes average build time, and a 90% success rate of build pipeline. Yeah, we're talking now a little bit about DevOps. It means you are losing 900 minutes of engineers per week. And as you know, this is really, really costly. Another example, you have a 25 minutes average build time with 5 minutes queuing build time. Again, with the 90% success rate, this means that every time you run your build, it costs you around $50 per build. So think about if you want to pay that every time you push a commit to your pipelines, right? This is something to think about, and to reduce the feedback loops will help on this. And finally, single source of truth. As I said, whenever you can generate code from a single source of truth, the best. You will be avoiding type proliferation and some other problems. And think about this. What you see on the left is an open API documentation, what you use to build Swagger docs. This is describing an endpoint to users and how to create a new user. So from this, you can generate API documentation. As you see, it's really interactive and you can play with it. You can generate TypeScript types as well, or you can generate client libraries for your REST APIs. So you can target Node.js, you can target browser, you can target Elixir, Rust, whatever kind of library you want to build, because you have a DSL here that helps you to do that. Imagine as well, you can create automatically input validation for your API. Yeah, so you are receiving these parameters in the body, you are validating that. If somebody sends something wrong, you send an error. Also, you can validate your output from the API. So all of this, you can do it with a single source of truth. And also it will help, for example, when you are building your client libraries. Let's say you are building a browser library to communicate with your API. Whenever this model changes and you get a new version of your client library, then if something was changed, let's say that some property was changed in the model, then your build will definitely break next time you want to build your application if you haven't handled the change. So this is providing confidence that when the backend is changing, the front end won't be affected, or you will know earlier about it. And how you do all these things, and the word is automation. And I would like to show you a few things about how you start building if you are not familiar with the process, and it's quite simple. there is a principle about creating the culture of automation. What are the phases? And we will talk about enabling early collaboration. So creating the culture of automation, it starts with saying that manual work is a bug. Every manual action must complete a task and improve the system. So if you are having manual actions, the only reason why you have them is because you are improving something else. So think about a process in your company, in your project that is manual and that you could automate, but you don't know how to start. So the better way to start is just to document the process, exactly what you need to do. Next time you have to do this again, then instead of doing it automatically, you will just go to your documentation and you will follow it like rules. Yeah, and then you will start finding things that are missing. Maybe you will improve it a little bit, and this is the way you are improving the system. The next time you need to run this manual action again, then it is start to transform into a script. So the examples you had in this documentation start becoming like variables, and then you start changing the process, and maybe you will start automating little parts of it, and not necessarily the whole thing at once, but next time you go through this again, you will have a few automated steps. And by the end, you will have the full automation, and you will have maybe on the top of it some self-service, right, that you can provide to your users to then just they will create whatever they need on their own. And it's very important to enable collaboration in this process when you're writing the documentation and starting to automate, because you will start sharing your ideas, you will invite others to improve the process, and you will start testing it on the wild. And this is a little bit of how automation can improve your processes. And if you see here again, we have a system design, and we are adding a little bit, we are sprinkling a little bit of automation that in this case is helping to make more deploys. Like maybe you have a deploy process that is really slow and manual, and you want to have something easier that with one click, you're deploying this exact version of your system somewhere. And by automation, you can do that. So whenever you have this automation, the amount of deploys you can make in your system will increase. And naturally, because you are deploying more, your change sets or changes size will start reducing naturally. The more deploys, the smaller the changes you can put in a deploy. So the smaller the changes are, the safer will be the deploys. When you are deploying something to production, and instead of deploying one ticket or one feature, you are deploying 10, then there is 10 things that can go wrong in this case. So the more deploys, the smaller the change size, the smaller the change size, the safer are the deploys. The safer are the deploys, the more confidence you will have in the whole process. And with the more confidence, you can make more deploys. Or you can take the time that you saved with automation and build more automation, think about improving other parts of your system. We'll go right now to one quick example. And I want to share with you that if you scan these QR codes, you will have access to this tool that allows you to simulate your process and to think in systems. It's a really, really interesting tool. And when you want to think about something that has many moving parts, it's really useful to do so this way. The next thing I want to show is a little project that I built over the years, and basically started in my way to learning React, but it has evolved and it has gone through many different stages. And it is a really basic radio player. So you can go there and play some radio around the world. There is radios from Poland, from Argentina, from everywhere. And the tech stack for this is React for the UI. I'm using a really new library because also this is the place that I use to learn new things. And this library is called Stitches. It's a CSS in JS with really nice TypeScript support. So if you are building design systems for your companies, this is a really nice tool because you can create the full set of tokens for your design system, like what are your colors, what are your spaces, margins, borders, anything like media queries and so on. You can define that in a single place declaratively. And then when you're trying to consume this design system in your components, in your applications, you will have TypeScript support, which is really valuable because sometimes you don't know what the color for some logo or some place of the application was. And then you have that in your editor, in your VS Code. Whenever you are typing a color, it will pop up as a suggestion. Of course, I'm using TypeScript over here, and I'm using a nice tool called GenQL, and this is connected to what I showed you before, that if you have processes that automate your code generation, then you can create clients for your front end, for example. And we will see a little bit how that works. I'm using TestCafe as an end-to-end testing library, and I'm deploying this app with Vercel, which is a really, really nice platform for deployments. And for some of the pipelines, I'm using GitHub Actions. So I want to show you a little bit how this looks like, and you can scan the code and directly use the app. And over here, you can see it's just a mobile layout, and you can select your language you're going to use and dark mode, and that's it. You can browse through the radius, you can search, and you can play some music. So let's go over here, and I need to stop sharing the presentation. So give me the cue if everything is good, because I need to share my browser. Let's see.
Ricardo, we have 8 minutes to go, right? And we need to leave 5 for questions and answers, just to let you know.
Yeah, sure. Okay, let's share the screen over here. And I want to show you this. Okay, so this is the project, and this is the app I want to show you. And there's a few things over here that I want to show you. So this is the app. I'm going over here. And the few things I want to show you here is the package JSON for this application. And there is the post install. So when you are installing your dependencies, there is a post install script that calls the generate script. And this is calling this tool GenQL. So what this GenQL is doing is taking my GraphQL schema, because this app has a GraphQL schema, and it's building a code, and it's generating code to a folder in my project called .generated/GenQL. And this runs every time I install my application. And I want to show you how my schema looks like over here. It's very simple because I'm using some external API to get the radio stations. And you can see this is what is possible to do in my GraphQL schema. I can query for stations, and I can query stations by unique ID. I can have these types for the station and so on. So every time I'm building the application, this tool is reading my schema, which is in this case my source of truth, is building my client library, and then I can just use that, and I can show you how that works. If I go to GraphQL and hooks, these are just React hooks, and I'm using this client that is being imported from my GraphQL. So you can see that I have generated types, I have generated client and the inputs for it. So I can just call in this line client.query, and this will be auto-completed for you in the editor. And if you want to see how this works, I can make a change in my GraphQL. So let's say that in general, you will have some team that is working with the GraphQL endpoint or with your backend. If it is a REST API, then you will have some kind of DSL like this. So let's say that I change this query to be search stations instead of just stations. And let me show you, I will create update schema. And let's say I'm creating a new patch for this. What is happening right now is that my application will try to build, because the query changed, then the types definition have changed. And because my application is not ready to handle those changes, the problem is that if I don't have, for example, good typing, a solid and sound type system, then I won't catch this error until I go to the production side and I try, or maybe some test will catch it. But the point is that now I will be catching this automatically. So you see, as I'm building Vercel, I'm using Vercel, my build has failed. And it has failed, I cannot show you because I'm not logged in right now, but it has failed because of the types have changed and my application is not ready to handle those. Another tool that I have here is called Hike, and this is a really useful tool for adding some friendliness to your code base. So you can define some rules in this GitHub, and you go to the settings here, and you can define some rules about your files. When somebody edits some file, then for example, if somebody modifies the GraphQL files, you can add a comment. And this is really useful when you have someone new in their team and you want to let them know what each part of the code base does. In this case, I changed the GraphQL schema and I'm getting a warning, that I have modified the GraphQL schema, that I should take into account some rules. If I deleted some fields, if I'm adding new fields, and so on. The important thing here is that I changed my schema broke my build, and now I got information about when I'm doing this. So when you're modifying the GraphQL schema, we will automatically generate the client library. If you have modified the types or queries and you do not have updated the code handling it, this build step will fail. So this helps your new developers to understand easily, and it helps you with the code reviews because you don't have to comment everything out yourself. How we on time? I think we have
I think that's now it's time for question and answers. Ricardo, if you can just wrap it up, please.
So wrapping up, try to build confidence into your teams, into your applications, into your pipelines, and basically you can explore, and we can have a chat later on to see more demos of what can you do. And I believe that's it from my side. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Jeff. And I'm coming back to the slides. So, thank you. And one more notice is that we are hiring, so you can go to our booth and ask any questions.
Right. So let's have a look at the questions that we have then. So do I understand correctly that app is written React Plus and you use GraphQL in it?
Yes, it is built on React. It is also using GraphQL, and it is using Next.js. So in the API roles, I built a mini GraphQL server, so you can ask queries for that.
Right. I am currently in the process of job hunting. From your experience, do you think soft skills are worth including in your CV? Can I answer that then, Ricardo?
Yeah, definitely.
Right. So yes and no. I don't think that you should put it your soft skills on your resume there. Like, for example, I have collaboration, I have empathy, I have this kind of stuff. But you should put it what is your experience on it. So, for example, Tesco have 5 leadership values. That's innovation, resilience, responsibility, empathy, and collaboration. So I would put it like, how did you display empathy? How did you display collaboration when you had your past experience there? So, for example, I collaborated really well with my colleagues, and I had the empathy on this scenario, or I did innovation when I show it how to do that process on that tool. So I would put this kind of stuff in your resume, and I think that's really cool when you actually look at the resume and you see that person there with all those values, all those soft skills on it. So I hope that answers your question. All right. The next question is, can you provide the link to the app?
Yes, sure. Let me see. If you go to the app, I think this is the link is just called bemba.app. And if you go and scan this QR code, you will find the repository. You can find me on github.com/Ricardo Casares.
That's brilliant. So any other question that we have? What if the team doesn't want to collaborate? I can answer that one there, and you can add a little bit more. What happened is that if the team doesn't want to collaborate, why the team doesn't want to collaborate, right? The big answer here is to understand the whys, right? Remember that I showed a book from Simon Sinek about why, to start always with the why, right? If we show to the developers, to the engineers, why we are doing that, and everybody's quite clear on that goal, I think that everybody's going to be starting collaborating well together. But that's my thoughts. Let's go with you, Ricardo, then.
Yeah, well, if team doesn't want to collaborate, there's something telling you that something is not working. Maybe they don't know well each other. Maybe it's a new team. There are many things. For me, it's a sign that something is not working well. And it's a point to investigate. Like, okay, what's going on? Maybe the team doesn't get along. Maybe there's a problem. Maybe they know each other from somewhere else and didn't have a good experience. For me, it's just a sign that the discussion needs to happen, because when the team is not collaborating, it's not a good thing for the team, for the business, and for nobody really. I would try to have an honest discussion about what's going on.
Right. Yeah, that's brilliant. So any final questions then? All right, that's all the questions from our viewers. Thank you and see you soon. All right, thank you very much, folks. I really appreciate you joining us, and catch you all soon then.
Thank you. Have a good day. Enjoy the conference.
Cheers. Bye.